When it comes to cruising destinations in the Pacific Northwest, Prince William Sound must surely be the jewel in the crown. For boats too large to trailer, reaching this gem means forsaking the protection of the Inside Passage for the treacherous waters of the Gulf of Alaska. Passing through Hinchinbrook Entrance, we head directly to the Columbia Glacier on the eastern side of the Sound in search of a calm anchorage. We cruise among a flotilla of ice floes, carving at a prodigious rate from the face of the receding glacier. The Columbia began its catastrophic retreat during the 1970s, regressing more than 10 miles in 25 years. In March 1989, ice from here obstructed the outgoing channel from the oil terminal in Valdez, triggering the Exxon Valdez disaster. Ice floes provide haulouts for seals and this bevy of sea otters. We keep our distance. From here we cross to the town of Cordova, which we have visited twice before. We are invited to join Robert aboard his bow picker. These boats can be trailered. We head through shifting shallows to the fishing grounds, open on this occasion for 36 hours. At the appointed time, and not 1 second before, nets are deployed over the bow.
Just really slick. There's that much water on the sand.
After 1 hour spent deterring seals who think this exercise is solely for their benefit, the net is hauled in and the salmon disentangled. Normally a one-person operation, Robert is assisted on this occasion by Venture crew member David, who is trying his hand at this for the first time.
tight there, so pull it. See right inside the system. That's a red salmon, and this is a humpy. A pink salmon, a humpy. Okay. So they don't pay us much for these. There you go. Now grab it. Some people can either just grab the web if it's a bitch to grab him. And just get it hanging. There. Now you can do it.
Catch is iced, and later, in exchange for a receipt in the form of a fish ticket, is delivered to larger boats called tenders, representing the processing company.
You see how we drifted that way? So I'm going to start to set out here.
After a few hours, we rendezvous with a float plane, which taxis up to the boat, allowing us to step onto the floats. From the air, we are able to grasp the full extent of the vast Copper River Delta with its maze of channels. A road extends out to Million Dollar Bridge, built in the early 1900s to service the Kennecott copper mine. One span collapsed in the 1964 Alaska earthquake. Repaired at great expense in 2005, it was again put beyond the reach of road traffic when, in 2011, a second bridge was swept away at mile 36. The glaciers and rugged terrain are breathtaking. This would be a bad place for a float plane to lose an engine. We land safely on Ayak Lake, just outside Cordova. Dawn heralds the start of a new day in the Naked Islands. We head south to the Pinnacle, a group of rocks home to a colony of stellar sea lions. We keep our distance, using long lenses, as they are very skittish and their numbers are dwindling. Cruise ships now include Prince William Sound in their itinerary. We explore shallow waters where shoals of salmon congregate at the mouths of small streams and rivers in a shimmering mix of fresh and salt water. Every boulder carries a wig of trees, sprouting from what appears to be solid rock. The one on the right provides a perch for an adult bald eagle. Now in her 12th season, Venture carries 2 tenders, plus a pair of kayaks. We move to Barnes Cove, off Dryer Bay on Knight Island. Here, in our favourite spot, we rendezvous with a local boat out of Whittier, whom we had met during our previous visit in 2015.
Things are wrapped up around the mast. Guys went up the mast, cleared it. It took us about a couple hours.
Along the shores of this beautiful anchorage, we see 3 different black bears browsing along the shoreline. Using the tender and the kayaks, we explore adjacent bays and inlets. Pillow lava forms when liquid rock flows into the water, as seen today in parts of Hawaii. Further south, we see numerous humpback whales feeding close inshore. Snow-fed waterfalls are still magnificent, but lack the exuberance we remember. Bainbridge Glacier is beautiful, but now terminates on shore behind a moraine covered with vegetation. Nearby Chenega is a tidewater glacier. We nudge our way through extensive ice to reach its crumbling face. Numerous ice floes provide resting spots for seals. We collect a piece of glacial ice that glitters like diamond. The retreating glacier reveals shoreline rocks over which meltwater cascades. The fractured ice cracks and booms from immense internal pressures until it reaches journey's end and tumbles into the sea. Creating a mini tsunami. The approach to the town of Whittier is along scenic Passage Canal. Built as a military outpost during World War II, 75% of residents live in this one apartment block. The town sits in the shadow of Whittier Glacier and receives more than 200 inches of snow per year. The two marinas have waiting lists of up to 14 years, so we need to tie up alongside charter boat Discovery. Here we take on our first fuel since leaving Juneau. The following morning we crossed the fjord to make a brief stop at a waterfall surrounded by thousands of wheeling kittiwakes. Whittier is connected to Anchorage by a road which shares a tunnel with the train. Local tour boats take tourists from Anchorage and cruise ships to visit the wealth of glaciers and waterfalls which grace the western shores of Prince William Sound. We do the same and call first at Blackstone. This place is nicknamed Death Trap because the hanging glacier cannot be seen from the base of the cliffs, and if it calves, the first you know of it is when tons of ice descend on your head. We make our way to Harvard Glacier at the head of College Fjord. We are surprised to see Discovery, our berthmate in Whittier. She is well into the ice and close to the action. Discovery moves on, as does Venture. A trip in the tender gives a sense of scale to this immense wall of ice and makes us feel very insignificant. This area was first explored by the Harriman expedition in 1899, when the glaciers extended much further. They named College Fjord, with Harvard and Yale glaciers at its head. Numerous side glaciers feeding into the fjord were given the names of colleges for women. Most of these have now retreated back from the water. We move next to Barry Arm, home to Barry, Cascade and Cox glaciers, which at one time formed three arms of a single sheet of ice, completely filling Barry Arm. Cascade lies next to this impressive waterfall. Not long ago, it encompassed this scarred chunk of rock. Water flowing from beneath Barry hastens its retreat. Surprise Glacier lies just around the corner. Waterfalls tumble down, fed by meltwater from hanging glaciers far above our heads. Surprise has the reputation of being the most active glacier in the Sound, but we have to wait 4 hours, with camera constantly at the ready, before our patience is rewarded. Cascade has the largest waterfall by volume in the Sound. Returning east across the Sound, we explore hidden inlets through narrow entrances. The tidal range is great, and extensive areas are exposed when the tide is out. Narrow inlets must be navigated at slack tide. It is depressing to see how many trees are dying. Their bleached skeletons stand like stakes driven through the heart of the living forest, victims of the bark beetle and warmer winters. We are now back in the vicinity of the Columbia Glacier, where chunks of errant ice drift on the tide past verdant forest. Wild salmon congregate in vast numbers as they wait to enter the streams where they started life. Less snow in the mountains means that flow from streams has been reduced to critical levels by the time the salmon arrive to spawn. After 1 month in the Sound, it is time for us to start our long journey south. We pay another brief visit to Cordova and head for the Gulf of Alaska, pausing only to take photos of venture with the backdrop of dramatic Cape St. Elias at the tip of Kayak Island.